Brought to you from Melbourne, Australia. This is the Badminton Podcast, a community for badminton players by badminton players, where we talk badminton, celebrate local heroes, interview players from all walks of life, and push you to grow as a player and a person. Introducing your hosts, Jeff and Henry.
Hello, everyone out there in the badminton world and the badminton community. Welcome to another episode of the Badminton Podcast, proudly sponsored by Volant. My name's Jeff.
And I'm Henry.
We're the co-founders of Volant and the co-hosts of the Badminton Podcast. We're here because we love badminton, and we started our brand and the podcast because we really do want to show the world how incredible badminton is and talk to players from all walks of life so that we can talk about their stories, what they've learned, and hopefully provide you with some things to take home so you can start implementing those in your life as well. Now, Volant, being this official sponsor of the podcast, is a brand that gives badminton players an alternative, a great alternative to all of the unsightly conventional badminton wear that you see around that's brightly coloured and patterned and you can't wear it everywhere. And we've created this style of clothing so you can feel confident and stylish wherever you go, whether you're on and off the court. And the podcast itself is to bring our community together to share the love of our sport. So make sure you do check us out and shop at www.volantwear.com. In addition to all the cool stuff there are lots of free resources that can help you with your game. You can also follow us on our social media. Our handle is Volantwear, VOLANTWEAR.
So it's time to introduce our guest on the podcast. I'm very excited today because we actually have some female representation today.
Yay!
So we have Daniela Macias, who is a 22-year-old Peruvian badminton player who's been in the national team since 2007 when she was only 9 years old. She's currently number 81 in the world rankings in women's singles and number 53 in women's doubles. In 2014, she qualified for the Youth Olympic Games in Nanjing, and now she's on the road to the Tokyo 2020, now 2021 Olympic Games. She has always loved sports. When she was younger, she was a gymnast and swimmer. She also tried volleyball, ballet, basketball, and even synchronized swimming just for fun. Daniela also comes from a very athletic family. Her mum had qualified for the 1984 Los Angeles Olympic Games in swimming. And outside of a very sporty life, she is studying business administration at university, and she should be graduating in 2 years, hopefully.
Badminton taught me to, if you have a goal and you want to achieve something, then you gotta work hard for it, to do it, and to fight for my dreams, or like to fight for your goals. Nothing comes easy. If you want to achieve something, then you gotta go outside of your comfort zone. You have goals for everything, and badminton taught me to fight hard for it if I want to achieve it.
So, welcome onto the podcast, Daniela.
Hi, thanks for inviting me.
It's really nice to have someone come on because we've had a lot of males actually on the podcast, and we just want to say thank you to Lino Munoz. I think that's said his surname correctly. So he's has kindly introduced us to you and suggested that you would be an excellent guest on the podcast.
Thanks, Lino.
So you've known Lino for quite a while now, yeah?
Yeah, I met him in tournaments really long time ago. I went to train to Denmark this year for like 2 months, and he was there training, preparing for Tokyo, and we were there training together. He's a really good friend of mine.
Sure. And when you heard about the Tokyo 2020 Olympics being delayed 1 year to 2021, what was your initial reaction? Were you prepared for it? Were you shocked? Were you surprised? Or what happened?
No, I was actually not surprised. I think that was a correct thing to do. At first, I heard they were just going to delay it later this year. But look, the situation right now, we're all in our homes. We cannot train, at least in Peru, we cannot train in court. So we're just training like the physical part. And we've been like that for already 2 months. And it's probably going to take way longer. So it's like whenever we're going to get back to court, it's like starting from zero, the preparation, so we need a lot of months to get back to our level and start improving a lot. So I think it was the right thing to do, to delay it until next year. And yeah, I'm still waiting to see what's going to happen to the qualification period. It was supposedly going to end in April, but we don't know that anymore. But yeah, I think it's the right thing to do so we can prepare better.
Yeah, that's a good point, because it does take a lot of time to actually prepare for an Olympic Games or any big tournament.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you said, you can do as much as you can now physically, but it's just not the same, is it?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I've been traveling for this past year a lot, not being able to train that much because of the qualification period. At first, I thought that it was a really good thing for me because it's like an opportunity to train on the physical side, which I haven't been able to do it. But now it's already been too long and I already feel the need to be on court again and train. I'm doing as much as I can in my house. But yeah, it's not the same.
So what are some of those exercises that you're doing at home, just for listeners, so maybe they can get some ideas as to how they can train and prepare for when they do ultimately get back to court?
Well, our coaches sends us every 2 weeks a new plan on the physical side. I'm doing like training with some weights because I have at home, and also training like the aerobic part with some badminton movements with heavy rackets, just whatever I can in here. I'm doing a lot of badminton footwork, mainly that, and then just some things with weight and yeah.
And Daniela, you are a young lady, so you're only 22 years old. And I remember when I was trying to qualify for the 2008 Beijing Olympics, I was about your age, a little bit younger, but about 19, 20 years old. And I did the similar thing that you're doing, which is traveling to a lot of different countries, training in different countries, meeting lots of people.
Yeah.
How have you found that journey to be so far? Because what I found was it was such a great learning experience, not just for badminton, but for my life, getting out there, being by myself, traveling by myself and doing all those things. Have you enjoyed yourself?
Yeah, actually a lot. I mean, it gets tiring at some point. Like now I was like, yes, I just needed to stay at home because right now I would be traveling. But because of the whole virus, I'm at home, which is something I needed. I haven't stopped traveling at all since May last year, but it was an amazing experience. I would do it again if I could. I don't know. I've learned so many things. I've traveled to places I never thought I would be able to. I live kind of far from everything. I went to Africa last year. Well, Europe, Asia. I haven't been to Oceania, which I would love to, but
definitely do come.
Yeah, come.
Yeah. When you can.
I really want to, but haven't had the opportunity yet.
It's far. We're a long way away.
Yeah, it's really far and expensive. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I learned a lot. Badminton has taught me a lot of things and met so many amazing people. And yeah, I'm really grateful to have that opportunity.
Yeah, that's great. And you might not be able to relive the journey again, but let's recap from where it actually started as well. So, Daniela, if I can ask you, how did you actually get started playing badminton, especially in a country where it isn't a very well-known sport? And because your mum was an Olympic swimmer, why don't you go into swimming instead?
I was in swimming, but I just didn't like it, you know. Well, like you said, my family has always been really athletic. My dad used to play basketball. My mom was swimming. I have 2 brothers. And when we were all little, we started with swimming. And my mom actually said, you can quit whenever you know how to swim, you know, because she said it was a really important thing in our life. So we were like, yeah, that's fine. But it just kind of, we just got used to it and kept swimming for a really long time. I was also doing gymnastics at that time. I was in my school team. So I was competing in some tournaments, national tournaments in gymnastics, and in swimming, I was in the team of in my club. That was during school time. But then when it was summer and I didn't have school, I would always want to try new sports. And that's when I got to do some nice swimming and I don't know. And somehow I ended up trying out badminton. At that time, no one knew what badminton was, not even me. I was probably like, I don't know, 6, 7 years. And yeah, I went into that hole. It was in my club and I tried it out. I didn't even know what was that sport's name at that time. And I loved it. I don't know. I loved how the weird that sport was. The fact that you play with a shuttle. I don't know. It was weird. When school started again, I kept playing badminton, but because I didn't have time at all, I was just training like twice a week. And I remember it was 2007. I was 9 years old and I was in a gymnastic tournament in another city in Peru. And my mom got an email of the Peruvian Federation inviting me to start training with the national team because they wanted me to represent Peru in the Junior Pan Am Championships in under 11 because at that time my club was the only place where you could play badminton in Peru. I'm talking about Peru, not only in Lima, in Peru in general. So there was no one under 11. So yeah, of course, I started training. That meant started training 5 times a week. So that's when I had to choose what sport I was going to do. I quit swimming because it was my least favorite at that time. And yeah, and I just kept doing gymnastics and badminton. Gymnastics will only take me like 1 hour every day after school. And then I would go to my club to train badminton. And I went later that year to the Pan Am Championships. I actually won in under 11 in women's singles and mixed doubles. And that's like the breaking point where I said, okay, I have to stay in badminton. And since then, I've been training only badminton. And yeah, that's how I ended up in that sport.
Awesome. And when you transitioned from the junior scene to more the senior scene, was that a big shift for you or were you already kind of at the top when you were a junior anyway?
No, it's different in Peru. It's not like there's a junior and a senior team. Like I said, it's not really known in here. So there are not many players. We train like under 17, under 19 and senior together. And then, well, the juniors, the under 15, 13 and 11, they train together. But the thing in Peru was that when I was really little, when I was like under 13, under 15, I was already playing international senior opens because there was a really huge gap between the generation before than me. You know, Andres Corpancho, you were talking about him.
Mm-hmm. Rodrigo as well.
Yeah, Rodrigo, Claudia Rivero, Cristina Icardi, all of them, they're like 10 years older than me. So between them and me, there was a huge gap. So when they started quitting badminton, the next one was me, you know, and it was my generation. So when I was really little, I started playing senior tournaments and then I started training like with the senior team. And yeah, I mean, it was, I think, a really good thing for me training there since I was quite young because I started learning a lot of stuff, like getting really good experiences since very small. You know, most people don't start competing until they're under 17, under 9 in the senior circuit. So it was a good thing for me. And yeah, it has helped me a lot.
Because those more senior players moved on and you became the top player, one of the top players in Peru, did you feel a sense of responsibility to be as a role model for others that were aspiring badminton players?
I think at that time I was really young, so I was not thinking about it in that way. I was just more like, oh yeah, I get to play senior tournaments and I get to be in the team event in the under 19 Pan Am Championships. You know, I was just like excited for it. But yeah, of course, I was growing up and I became like the first racket in Peru in women's singles and women doubles. I started feeling that responsibility in many tournaments because there are always those people that's, I don't know, you don't do that good in one tournament and they're like, oh, she lost against this girl, or, like stuff like that. And it was, at some point, it bothered me, but I didn't think about it that much. So I guess that was good. And yeah, I don't know. I've never thought of it that way. I just focus on myself and to improve in many aspects I need to improve. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's excellent. And in terms of the badminton scene in Peru, I know that when you started, there wasn't much there. There was only one place you could play in the whole of the country, let alone just in the city. What's the current situation now? Is it a more recognized, more played sport than it used to be?
Yeah, more recognized. Last year, it was the Pan Am Games, right? It was a UN Games, also Asian Games. And the Pan Am Games were in Peru.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So that helped badminton grow a lot, Still is not very known, but now we used to, when we were traveling to some tournaments and people would see us with our Yonex or, I don't know, any brand like badminton bag, they would, oh, you play, what sports do you play? And we would be like, oh, badminton. And they're like, what's that? And we would have to explain how it's played and everything, until one point that they would say, oh, you play tennis? And we would be like, yeah, we play tennis. And then now they ask us and we're like, oh, badminton. They're like, oh, that's nice. That's a really cool sport. So people know about it. It's not like if we have a tournament here, many people will come and see, but at least they know about it,
That's really funny because Lino said the exact same thing. Are you guys sharing stories? He said that he used to have to explain badminton so often when people saw him with his racket bag. It got to a point where he couldn't be bothered answering anymore. So when people asked him if he played tennis, he would just say, yeah, I play tennis.
That's funny. I think it's a Latin America thing, It's definitely not a known sport in all Latin America. So I guess every Latin American player would say the same thing.
Sure.
Yeah. And so how many badminton courts are there now? Are there more than one now?
Yeah, a lot. Before, like I said, it was only in Lima, the capital. Now there are 4, 5 or 6 cities have badminton. Of course, they're just things. So it's, the level will not improve that much until a few more years. But yeah, there are in many cities now. There are a lot of clubs in Lima now that play badminton with a good level, and not only clubs, schools. So that's really good. Our federation these past few years started focusing on promoting badminton way more. And they created national circuit tournaments, which we didn't have before because we were only 50 players. But now they created this, so all of us get to travel around Peru and play those tournaments. And that way, people from those cities would see us and would want to play and make badminton bigger. So yeah, that's a really good thing.
Yeah, it's great for the sport, and hopefully, just the more players that play will just bring up the standard, but naturally, right? Because if there's more players, there's more competition, there'll be hopefully more coaches, and then hopefully some of the other players will stay within the sport and help pass on the knowledge that they've learned on their badminton journeys and their careers, and from all the international coaches they've had, and just that passing on of knowledge, because that's where we find the top countries are so good. They have so many different players, but they have a lot of coaches who stay in the sport, and then the information and the knowledge and the wisdom always just gets passed down from generation to generation.
Exactly.
And it takes a few generations to make someone, but it sounds like it started now, hopefully, and Peru can start producing more top-level badminton players. So that's excellent. So I know that you said that you were training in Denmark.
Yeah.
Where else have you been training? Is there much of a national program or scheduled training sessions in Peru? And if not, where do you spend most of your time, if not at home?
Well, I never spend time at home because of traveling so much for tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
But I train here in Peru in the national team.
Mm-hmm.
I train twice a day, 4 times a week, and once a day, 2 times a week. And then because of the whole preparation for the qualification period, I went in January to Denmark to train for 2 months. That's our summer, so I had no classes. I also do study in university, so it was a perfect time to go outside. And, Denmark is one of the best countries in badminton. So I took that opportunity, went there to train. 2018, I was in Malaysia training for 1 month. That was to prepare for our Pan Am Games. And then on 2017, I went to India to train for a month and a half. So yeah, I've been to a few places, but I mainly train in Peru.
Wow. So out of all the places that you've trained, where would your favorite place be?
I love Denmark.
You love Denmark?
Yeah, I think it's the culture influences a lot, because I went to India and it was amazing there. I even saw the top players. I went to the Gopi Chand's Academy where Sindhu trains, Saina trains, and it was amazing to see them. But the culture is different from ours, so it was really hard, even the food.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was hard, to stay that long. And then in Malaysia, it was kind of the same thing. Different cultures, of course, but Peru and Malaysia has nothing alike. It was amazing, Malaysia, but yeah, it's a really different culture. And then in Denmark, it also different culture, but I don't know. It's how I think it was because I went to the Center of Excellence, which is an international club to train, there were only 2-3 players from Denmark and the rest were all around the world. There were African players. Even there was a guy from Australia training there, from America, Lino was there, Europe, so it was a lot of fun. I met a lot of people. The trainings were amazing. I really liked it. And yeah, I learned a lot and I would love to go back someday.
Excellent. I would disagree with the food, though. I love Malaysian food.
Yeah, same here.
No. I loved it. No, I'm not saying I don't like it. I loved it. I love Asian food. I've tried a lot. My favorite Japanese food, but
Oh, your favorite Japanese? Okay.
Yeah, I prefer that, but still I'm really open to, I love to try out new cultures, different types of food. I loved it, but it is still I don't know how people live in there. It's way different from just being at my home, doing my classes, going to training then. I don't know. It was just so different. So yeah.
Almost a cultural shock for you, Daniela.
Yeah, it's not a shock, but it's just, I don't know. It's hard to go for a long time over there, start missing a lot of stuff and yeah.
So just to talk about Japanese food again, what's your favorite Japanese food? Because we had, are you familiar with Lo Kien Yu?
No, sorry.
Singaporean badminton player.
Men's singles player.
Can you say it slowly?
Lo Kien Yu.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I thought you were talking about some type of food.
Some Malaysian food.
You have to say those Asian names slowly, yeah.
So we had him on our podcast the other week and he was telling us that he can make sushi quite well. He didn't tell us he could make sushi very well. He said he made sushi once.
Oh, I love sushi.
We'll make sure you get connected with him.
Yes, please.
So Daniela, other than the training and the traveling you've been doing, what other effects has badminton had on your life? How has it influenced your life? So maybe just not as an athlete, but your personal growth, your values, all those kinds of things, how it's affected your studies in university. What are the things it's taught you?
Well, a lot of things. I think one of the most important one is to fight for my dreams, to fight for your goals. I learned from badminton that nothing comes easy. If you want to achieve something, then you gotta go outside of your comfort zone. There's nothing more satisfactory than saying I did it, I did what I wanted to do. I think that's the most important thing, because it applies to everything. Even in university, you want to have this grade, so you have to study hard. Or if you are working, you have goals for everything. And badminton taught me to fight hard for it if I want to achieve it. Another thing is responsibility for sure, because since I was very little, I was always trying to balance my sport life with my school life. And I was little and most of my friends were able to like finish school, go back home, relax and do homework and going to school. For me, it was like as soon as I finished classes, I would have to go training. And then in Peru, the traffic is horrible. So I would spend like at least 1 hour or more going to train and going back home. So I would be at home like at 10 p.m. and then had to shower, have dinner and study as fast as I could so I could go to sleep early, you know? And it was really hard. So I'd have to be like, okay, as soon as I got home, as soon as I finished showering and having dinner, then I have to study from this time to this time, this class and the other class from this time to that time, you know? And even in university with all my tournaments, with all my traveling, I would have to learn the classes by myself with the books and stuff like that, because as soon as I would get back to Peru, I would have to do some exams. And, you know, it taught me to be responsible in everything. Another one really important is the integrity, you know, how to be honest, to play clean. You win because you did it best, because you worked hard enough to do it. And that's something badminton showed me. And also the amazing people I've met through my whole process. I've met people all around the world, which I'll forget and taught me so much. You know, everybody has their own story, and that kind of shows you how no path is the same, right? So yeah, I think those are a few of the things badminton taught me.
Yeah, I love it. It's great that badminton has taught you so much. And yeah, when we talk to other guests on the podcast, it's just amazing how many things badminton can actually teach you and can be transferred into other areas of your life as well. And just like this, creating connections with people that you share the same passion for the sport, and yeah, you just connecting through the sport as a result of it. So yeah, thanks for sharing that, Daniela.
No problem.
So you were talking about balancing your university studies and playing badminton and the routines and setting all those goals and I guess having a sort of a daily plan for yourself. If I were to someone that came up to you, because I know for Jeff, when he was playing professionally, a lot of people told him that, you know, you can't do both. You have to choose one or the other. What do you think about that?
So many times.
So many times.
So many times. Like, you have no idea. Mainly,
I know, don't worry.
Mainly my teachers from university, that I would be like, hey, I'm not going to be able to take this exam next week because I'm going to, I don't know, Egypt. And they would be like, what? What are you talking about? And then I would have to take it back and they would be like, that's not possible. You have to choose. You cannot do both stuff at the same time. And I'm like, I've been doing that my whole life, you know, and I have good grades. And I don't know, I just hate it when they say it many times, like probably 7 times throughout my whole university career, you know.
Wow.
In my school, they never taught me that. They would help me a lot. In university also, but the teachers would be always telling me that. But I think it's so not true. I think the sports actually shows you so much, as we talked. And it's a really important thing and influences a lot in your life, including university life. I think I've been doing good in university because of what badminton has taught me. And yeah, I think you can totally do it. I've been doing it my whole life. Many athletes have been doing it their whole life. And the fact that they haven't done that because, I don't know, maybe they weren't interested in sports doesn't mean like you cannot do it, right? I think, like I just said a few moments ago, that badminton taught me to, if you have a goal and you want to achieve something, then you got to work hard for it to do it. And I think you can use that in this topic, that I say, okay, I'm going to do both things and I'm going to study and have a professional athlete life. I want to do them both really good. Then I'm going to do them good, you know. I'm going to do everything in my power so I can achieve that, you know.
Yeah, that's great, Daniela. And just by listening to you speak at 22 years old, the way that you view things and the way that you're speaking about things and how you had to take responsibility at such a young age is very mature. And what I find that is a lot of athletes, so even if they're not professional athletes, but anyone who understands the idea or they've gone through the motions of having to train hard or study hard or do something hard and work for something, you basically grow yourself as a person, and it just affects all the different aspects of your life. And I think you can really bring that back to being an athlete and doing what you did from such a young age, because I experienced a very similar thing. I just wanted to highlight that for the listeners, because if you're a listener out there who has competed or has worked really hard for something, you kind of take for granted what the effect has been on your life, and it just becomes who you are. And then when you talk to people who haven't been through that, they look at you. Daniela, how many times have people looked at you saying, oh, you're so motivated, I could never be like you. How do you do all that kind of stuff? But then you think to yourself, well, I've always been doing it. It's just part of me. Is that what you feel sometimes?
It's normal. Yeah, totally. It's just normal. Many people ask me like, oh, what badminton is for you in your life, or what? I don't know. Like, I'm like, I don't know. It's been there all my life.
Yeah,
it's just part of me. Like, it's there. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I think that everyone listening who has had some sort of experience in high performance or training hard for a competition or having a goal and reaching it or striving towards it, is that all the things that you think an athlete would do can really be effective in other aspects of your life. Because I was on stage for a business seminar, and I was talking about athlete life and what basically the connection or the crossover is between being an athlete and how it links to business. And there are so many things that you can link over that are so applicable in business or in life or in your career that I think everyone listening might take for granted. When they actually use it for themselves, they can really make an effect on the other aspects of their life.
Yeah, exactly.
So Daniela, there was another thing that you talked about when we asked you about the influence of badminton on your life and how it's had a positive effect. And one of the things that you said was about honesty and competing honestly and clean. So, of course, drug-free. Now, being a professional athlete, I know that people listening, even if they haven't been in the professional scene before, they understand that there's drug testing and there's all kinds of things that happen. And I used to dread the day that the drug testers used to knock on my door at home, or they'd come to the training session. It's just annoying. It's just so annoying.
Yeah.
And I remember that they'd always walk in 10 minutes just before training finished. And usually no one, because we train quite early, no one would usually walk in at that time. And as soon as someone saw the door open, everyone would just sigh and say, drug test. And it's not the actual drug test that's a problem. It's that you have to wait till you need to go to the toilet. So you start drinking more water, and then you drink too much water, and then your sample is too diluted, and they have to wait longer. And look, I was lucky in that I didn't get what people call stage fright, right? So when you go to the bathroom and it doesn't come out because there's stage fright. And I used to tease some of my friends about that when they had a bit of stage fright. But what's your experience been with drug testing? Because I think some people don't understand what you actually have to do.
It's the same as you. Like, I hate it not because I'm taking any drug, just because it's so annoying. I remember once I was in a national tournament, and like I said, in Peru the traffic is horrible, so it would take me like an hour or an hour and a half to get home, and it was kind of late. My match was the last one, and I was like, oh, finally, like I finished my match. I'm just gonna stretch real fast and then just go home to sleep. It was like 10 p.m. and they came and said, Daniela, you need to do drug testing. And I was like, no, I just went to the bathroom before the match and it was the worst. I was like, okay, I have to drink water. I drank a lot. And if you not fill out what they ask you to fill out, it's like starting from zero. You need to drink a lot of water again. So you would have again it was the worst. And I ended up going home like 12:30, 1 a.m. It was the worst thing. And I had to train the next morning I wake up usually at 5 a.m. So it was so bad. And I was like such in a bad humor. I hate it. I really don't like it.
Henry, you're laughing because you've never had to go through it.
This is. I've never had a drug test before, but this is hilarious.
Yeah, so once you actually do it, you have to do it in front of it. They have to see it leaving your body in case you swap it or something, right? And then you have to sit on a table and you have to pour your own urine into 2 separate bottles up to a certain line, and they tell you to stop. And then you have to do all these stickers where you stick it down so that you're making sure it's sealed and you've seen it, it's sealed, and all these things. And it's pretty full. It sounds pretty full on.
Just like, give me your pee on demand and I need this much exactly.
And it needs to be this concentration.
It's the worst.
Oh, and then they have to put a tablet in there to check it's enough concentration. And
it's so bad. Yeah.
Well, enjoy those in the future. I'm glad I don't have to do that.
Oh no, it's so.
But all in all, it is really important for the sport that it does stay honest and clean, because we do want to make it a fair playing field for everyone.
Yeah.
I know that at the moment I see on the BWF website there's a lot about competing honest and clean. I think it's a green sign and lots of players basically saying that they're clean and supporting it. Mm-hmm. Have you had much interaction with that campaign at all?
Not really. I'm part of WADA. It's called the agency, right? Like the World Anti-Doping
Agency.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly. So this one in Peru that I think there's in all the countries, that it's like the Peruvian agency part of WADA. And I have this application in my phone where I have to fill every place I'm gonna be like in the next 4 months.
I know.
You know, I don't even know where I'm gonna be tomorrow, you know.
I know.
It's so bad. Like, it would be like so stressed because I would be like, where am I gonna be tomorrow? Like, I have no idea.
Exactly. So I forgot about that part.
It's so bad. I hate that so much because of course I feel it. You need to feel it every 4 months. So you have to feel 4 months in a row and then just upload it. And of course, then I forget about but I don't do exactly what that says. But if you change something, you need to change it on the application. But I never do that because I forget. I don't know. I'm not like thinking about that every time.
Yeah.
And it's important to change it, because if you get there and you're not there, they do a notification. And I think like every 3 notifications you get like
something warning or something.
I don't know, something like that. So I hate that. It was so stressful. I think it was on 2018. In 3 months, I had to do 6 times the test, which was crazy. Like, I mean, it's always been negative. I don't know why they just kept following me.
They really want to catch you, Daniela.
Yeah, I forgot about that part.
I'm not in the WADA.
Okay. Yeah, no, sorry. I was saying that I forgot about that part. And we used to call them whereabouts forms. Are they still called whereabouts forms?
Yeah, whereabouts, exactly.
And I used to be stressed as well, thinking, where am I going to be at this exact time in 4 months' time? And sorry, Henry, that's another part of it you don't know about.
That's crazy. 4 months. I can't even plan my life like a week in advance.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so Daniela, we've been able to discuss a lot of different things today. So all the things you've learned about yourself being a badminton player, and at such a young age, having a very mature outlook on life that's kind of cross-pollinated into your studies and just everything, not just badminton in itself. And while you're on the road for the 2021 Tokyo Olympic Games now, if there's some listeners who are really interested to see how you're going and to follow your progress, how would they be able to stay up to date with what you're doing?
So my only active account is on Instagram. I have an account as an athlete, so I post there my everyday tournaments. I go to my results and just whatever I'm doing in my not sport life. My username is at Daniela.Macias14.
14.
Yeah. exactly. And there you can follow my everyday stuff I do.
Fantastic. Now, so I hope some of the listeners are going to tune in to see what Daniela is up to, because she leads a very interesting lifestyle with her studies as well as her badminton training and her tournaments as well. So make sure you check her out, follow her on Instagram. So look, from everyone at Volant and the Badminton Podcast, so that is Henry and I, we just want to say thank you so much for being on the podcast, Daniela.
No, thank you. It was really nice talking to you.
Fantastic. And for all those listening, please do share this podcast with everyone in badminton and outside badminton, because it is a fun podcast and we really enjoy what we do, but it's also here to build the badminton community and for you to get to know some players that potentially you might not have known on a personal level. And we're trying to introduce you to different players from all around the world. So make sure you do share this and that you do keep training as much as you can, even if you can't get on court right at the moment, and really, really do share your love of the sport with everyone, because it is an excellent and amazing sport to be a part of.
And if you want to connect with us, being me or Jeff, you can contact us via Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and TikTok via our social media handle Volantwear, VOLANTWEAR, or on our website, www.volantwear.com. Please reach out to us. We are more than happy to answer any questions that you have, bring you onto the podcast, because we certainly love to connect and certainly love to grow the badminton community, as Jeff has mentioned. So we will bring on another guest very soon, and we will see you on that very next episode. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Daniela. See ya.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
This podcast was brought to you by Volant, the most versatile badminton apparel you'll ever own.